everybody, and welcome to another episode of Not Quite Ringside Podcast. I am your host, the Captain Corey Smelser, along with Will Twinkie Welch.
What's up, guys?
So we listened to some feedback, and we're going to follow what we heard from you guys about how we could fix things, how we could make the show a little bit better than from our first episode. So, with that being said, we're going to start off with something a little different. We're going to start off with some wrestling news. And I'm going to let Will Twinkie Welch take care of that for you guys, and I'll probably comment on it too.
There are really only like 4 big pieces of news this week. The first one, and I really want to get your take on this one, and I'm going to chime in on this too. Drew McIntyre to NXT. Yes, you heard us talk about it last week that he was shown in the crowd. Apparently, after NXT TakeOver went off the air, according to WWE.com, he came in and said NXT is where the best competition is at. I've been winning championships all over the world. Now it's time to win one here. I'd love to get your take on that. I love it.
I have no problem with Drew McIntyre coming back to WWE NXT. I mean, the only championship that he's actually credible of going for is the NXT World Championship, which I'm perfectly fine with because if you remember back in Impact, you had Bobby Roode versus McIntyre, and they put on great matches. And now you're going to put it on a bigger stage with NXT. I think they're going to be putting on really great matches, a really good feud.
I don't understand it from McIntyre's point of view exactly because Drew McIntyre could have gone the entire world over, wrestling on the indies, like you said, winning titles, making money. They must have really paid him to come back because that'd be the only way you're going to get me back if you fire me.
That's what I said when we on the last podcast was that you asked why is McIntyre back. I was like, the money.
Yeah, that'd be the only reason I would come back. So the second piece of news, I wouldn't necessarily call this big, is Eva Maria's fired. Woo! Bye, Eva. Woo! Bye. Leave. We're done. We're glad to see you leave.
We don't want your R-rated everything. It sounds pretty bad to begin with, but yeah.
Exactly, and she's not very good in the ring, and we're just glad to see her go.
No more botches in the ring. No more botchamania all over the place. Botchamania is not going to be running wild anymore.
Yeah, thank goodness, because, in the ring, I'm scared she's going to get somebody hurt, and it's going to be somebody like Bayley or Alexa Bliss, and that we can't have that happening. You can't have one of your champs hurt. So the third piece of news is the Vaudevillains are gone. This was interesting to me.
The team of Vaudevillains are gone, but only person that is leaving is Simon Gotch.
But I don't think they can really do anything with Aiden English. Go ahead and release him too. Let them get on the indie scene. Let them build a name for themselves. Maybe go to Japan, Impact, ROH, somewhere.
All WWE needs to do with Adrian is to just repackage him, get him away from that Vaudevillains thing, is just repackage him into a different character.
They better. I would send him back down to NXT.
I would actually. He looks small enough to actually go to 205.
Can you imagine him and Drew Gallagher? I mean, they're kind of the same type of character, but just a heel version of himself.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or not Drew Gallagher. Who's the Jack? Sorry, Gentleman Jack. Gentleman Jack and Simon Aiden English.
You have two gentlemen on the show.
Yes. I think that could be a very intriguing feud. You could even tag team them and, have them go up against...
It could. I mean, obvious is working with Sheamus and Cesaro. I mean, why wouldn't it work for Gallagher and Adrian?
Yeah. So the last one I have is Nikki Bella is having neck surgery. That's kind of sad. We knew this was her last match. WrestleMania was her last match.
Well, granted, she just said that it was just going to be like a hiatus, but it pretty much is going to be her last match at Mania, which is a good way to go out. That's how Brie went out.
She won, and she got a ring. And what a ring. I mean, seriously, that thing was huge.
Yeah. He went to Tiffany's.
Definitely. So, you ready to get into the...
Actually, there was one more piece of news that I remember, which is pretty big news. The Hardys are being allowed to finish their indie dates.
That's right. So, for the next month, they took indie dates up until May. WWE, this is a new territory for them. They don't let people on the main roster do indie dates. So, this could be a new thing for them. I could see,
I could see them trying to they already have new number one contenders, which we'll get back into when we hit Raw up in this podcast. But they can help build up the number one contenders, and then just build that storyline and don't let the Hardys wrestle again until Payback.
I could see that. I wouldn't mind that. They're within their 30 days having defended on Raw, because you're supposed to defend your title every 30 days. Now they've been loose with that, but the Hardys, our big mainstream talent. Maybe even have a promo from them or something, calling out new title. You wouldn't have to have them on every week. I'm gonna look forward to hearing and seeing what the Hardys are gonna do with that brand. I'm hoping that Impact loses and we get the broken Matt Hardy gimmick and Brother Nero. I would love to see that. You can tell the crowd is into it, and if it becomes a battle of money,
just already with them going delete.
Right, and also on top of that, if it comes down to a battle of Impact wants money, you're going to really have that battle with Vince McMahon?
I know, really.
I mean, Vince is going to float a couple million and be like, I'll make this back in sales. So,
true.
So I'm really hoping that
I did see a meme on Facebook the other day where it showed how we reacted when the Hardys debuted, when Vince McMahon saw when the Hardys debuted, and when Dixie Carter, her face whenever
they replaced her face with the crying Jordan, because that would be hilarious.
It was her crying, and it was Vince McMahon sniffing money.
Yes, that would be awesome. I would love to see that image. So
that completes the wrestling news.
Right. So here we go. We're gonna get into ROH first. It was an uneventful show, except the starting was interesting. Adam Cole comes out, says. It was from the previous week's episode. After the show went off the air, he tries to fire the Young Bucks from the Bullet Club, so to speak.
Which he really can't, because he's not the leader of the Bullet Club.
And the Young Bucks reminded him of that. I love the Young Bucks saying, there's only one member of the Bullet Club who's elite other than us, and that's Kenny Omega. I think they dropped that Kenny Omega reference to a battle for the Bullet Club, Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole at ROH's next pay-per-view, because their next pay-per-view is all about ROH and New Japan going in together into a match.
Which I think that's going to be because I just went back. Well, I didn't go back. Access TV showed the finals of the G1 tournament back in.
Well, it was the semis.
June. It was the semis and then the finals.
Yeah,
and they had both of them had Kenny Omega matches.
Kenny Omega versus is it Naito? I think
Naito, and then Kenny. I forgot who. I forgot who the other guy was. I don't have it in my notes, so I can't tell you. But watching these matches, they were great matches to go watch. I sent Will a link to go watch the Omega Naito match, and I don't know what his reaction was on it, but I told him that this was probably the match of the year throughout all of wrestling.
No, it was a good match. It was a really good match, but you're talking about from June of last year. Kenny Omega put on a match with Okada, which was a 60-minute match.
Oh yeah,
and it was the match of the year so far for me.
I haven't got to that match yet.
Yeah, I went out and watched it because everybody was talking about it. But it was a really good match. Kenny Omega versus Naito was a really good match. I can't wait to see Adam Cole and Kenny Omega go at it.
That's going to be a really good match. They both can put on a really good show.
They both can. I love how over Kenny Omega is. I love his character. I wish he would have gone to WWE, but I'm kind of glad he didn't, because they would have changed him.
Oh yeah, they would have put that PG label on him, and he wouldn't be able to do nothing.
Yep, I agree with that. So it's not much else to talk about on this card. I hate to say it.
Well, you had the Top Prospect Tournament semifinals with
the first side of it.
Josh Woods versus Brian Kingpin Malonis.
I'm not a big fan of the Kingpin.
I'm not a huge fan
and
of
I watched the match. I was unimpressed. I felt like they were kind of meh in the ring together. There was no chemistry there.
Pretty much Kingpin dominated the match throughout the entire 10 minutes of the match, that the length of the match was. And it turned out to be Josh Woods who came up with the victory.
The other match on there was, or one of the other matches on there was Marty Scurll, the villain who we have praised on this show before, versus
Kenny King.
Kenny King. I like Kenny King as a heel. My first introduction to him was in TNA. He plays a good heel. He does really well. The finger cracking thing, I showed my dad that. My dad's been watching wrestling for 50 plus years. I showed that to my dad where he breaks the fingers. And his response was, I don't know how he did that, but it looked good.
No, I don't know how he does it either. Like I want to say it's like something with his tongue, but you can't make your tongue sound like you're cracking fingers.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. Like I said, I love Marty Scurll. We said it last week. We sang praises to him last week, and we still love Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed in a week. So that's pretty much the only things on the card there. So going to move on to you want to move on to NXT or 205?
We'll go to NXT, I guess.
For a show after a takeover, I was kind of disappointed. You could have used that to build up your next performance.
Yes, I agree. Like, the first match on the card of the show was Peyton Royce versus Aaliyah. We've seen Aaliyah a couple of times on NXT, and she's a subpar wrestler right now. I mean, she's still developing, as you can tell, which is what NXT is used for. But it was an okay match. It was really choppy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't care for the match. I just kind of was like, about halfway through it, I was like, okay, this match should have been over like 2 minutes ago, and it was only maybe a 5-minute match.
And I put in my notes right here. I said, Peyton wins, not an impressive match, boring to watch.
Yeah. So, I agree. I was not impressed. Definitely not impressed.
But, with that all being said, with that match being boring and being subpar and everything, really, I can only see Peyton, if not them building back Ember Moon, but Peyton Royce being the next number one contender for the NXT title against Asuka.
I don't know. I could see Ember Moon going again. I'm not a fan of NXT when they called up all their women last year. Almost left the division barren.
Oh, yeah.
I would say. So there's not that next. They hadn't built up that next superstar. Well, they had Bayley, and Asuka, but that was about it. They need to find some more talent. Surely there are more women wrestlers out there that can be built up for this spot against Asuka and can put on better matches than what we saw on NXT this week.
Well, boils down to, it's like, who is left for Asuka to face right now on that roster besides Ember Moon, who we already saw that that Asuka won controversially.
Yeah.
But still, it's still a win. And it's like, who is going to be on that level for Asuka? I think what they should do with Asuka is that they should do what they did with Paige and let her come up with the title. And then she has to relinquish the title after she wins the Women's Championship on the main roster.
SmackDown, preferably.
Yes.
I would rather see her on SmackDown. You could put on some great matches with Natalya. You could put on some good matches with some of the other women on that. Becky and Asuka. Oh, Becky Asuka. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I like it a lot.
But Asuka, she did a little promo after her match at TakeOver, and she brought up a good question. She says, who is left? And that's all she had to say. I was like, who is left for me to face? She's undefeated for over a year now.
There is nobody. She's right. There is nobody left for her to face. I would bring her up. I'd put her on SmackDown and let her roll.
I agree with that. Just because there's no more competition in NXT for her unless, again, Ember Moon is still in the picture.
Or you bring in somebody that we're not thinking of because, I think Velvet Sky is available.
I don't think she's wrestling anymore.
You never know with her. She said that before and came back on Impact, so... I think if you brought her back, that would be a good match for Asuka. But other than that, there's not really. You're right. There's nobody left for her to face. Bring her up. Let her go.
Yeah, just let her go up with the title.
Yep. So the next match was
Heavy Machinery versus the Bollywood Boys.
I can't stand the Bollywood Boys. They're too. I don't even know the word. Flamboyant's not even a word to describe them. I didn't like their in-ring. I like Heavy Machinery.
I love the Heavy Machinery, man.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see them versus the Authors of Pain.
The Heavy Machinery is really fun to watch because they have so much enthusiasm in the ring.
I love when they chest bump. They ran off the ropes and chest bumped each other in the middle of the ring. That was awesome.
And it's just like they play off as I'm the big guy. I'm going to dominate the matches, but at least these big guys can actually wrestle because you see them to do really technical wrestling moves.
Yeah, they do. Authors of Pain do technical moves because they have that background in wrestling, but they're not as much fun to watch. No. They don't bring that energy, that passion, that drive. They're just kind of,
they're big
and they're evil, and that's their gimmick. These guys, they like to have some fun. They're over with the crowd, so to speak.
Already, though it's only the second week that they've been on the show.
Right. I also like their outfits. I do some work with Caterpillar, and they have the cat logo almost on their shirts. I like it. It's really good.
And now with Heavy Machinery being the picture now, I said that they're probably the next biggest threat to the Authors of Pain for the tag team titles. Them or either Sanity.
Sanity could, but I really think we're going to see Heavy Machinery first. Mm-hmm. You can't put two heels in the ring and have a great match.
No, you can't.
So that's why I think next match we're going to see is Heavy Machinery. I think we'll get maybe a TM6-1 thrown in for just hey, it's a match on an NXT. Yeah. But I really think Heavy Machinery will be the next ones because you don't want to heel tag teams. And then I think after they'll have Heavy Machinery win, and then maybe we'll see Sanity come in later.
Yeah, and unfortunately, never mind. I lost my thought.
So the next match,
I remember. I said, unfortunately, that they're not pushing TM6-1 anymore because they would make really, if not champions, but really good contenders to the championship.
They would. I like them. They're fun to watch too. But I think we may see them once Sanity gets the belt or something. Maybe let them do some more training and then bring them back. So then we got the highlights of the Nakamura Bobby Roode match.
Mm-hmm. Which I put in my notes. I went back and watched the title matches, and I put in my notes, I said that I love how NXT, I wish WWE would do this. I mentioned this last time on last week's podcast, that I love how they let their matches finish, quote unquote, cleanly, with no outside interferences.
Yeah, they do, and that was a good way to end that show, I think, with Nakamura getting beat and pushing Bobby Roode. I liked the promo afterwards with Bobby Roode. Mm-hmm. And then we got Drew McIntyre. Yep. We saw him in the crowd, like I commented on last week. Everybody you've seen in the crowd who's a wrestling name goes on to be in the show. So now we know that Bobby Roode's next opponent is going to be Drew McIntyre. And I'm okay with that. I like that idea.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Because they don't have anybody else in-house, in my opinion, that could be built up to be the next threat to Bobby Roode.
Well, you got Roddy Strong.
You got to build him a little bit. Coming off a loss, you can't come off a loss and
then all of a sudden put him onto
So build him up some more. I thought I saw where Takeover is going to be in May. They're doing one in May, May 20th in Chicago. So that's going to be a short turnaround, and you don't have to do a lot of building to build up Drew McIntyre.
No, that is true. Now, the last match of the night was Odie Lorcan versus El Vagabondo.
Yeah.
Elias Sampson.
Elias Sampson. He got demasked in the middle of the match, or at the end of the match, really.
But it was funny to listen to the crowd's reactions because they were so behind El Vagabondo.
Yeah, I didn't really listen to it with the sound on. I was listening to it with the sound off. But
they were so behind him.
It was a decent match, but again, you did nothing to further any storylines. You only have a little over a month and a half, 6 weeks, and you're only an hour-long show. You did nothing to build towards your next takeover, and that's part of what I love about NXT. You build to the next takeover. And granted, you have 3 months to build, so you can put a great storyline in place in 3 months. You did nothing to build anything for your next takeover.
I agree with that too, because it's like, unless they bring out something this next week with NXT, then they start building, but then you don't have, you only have like 2 weeks to build a somewhat of a story to have something going into NXT. How I see NXT Chicago going, you're going to have Bobby Roode versus Drew McIntyre, Asuka versus Ember Moon, and for the tag team champions, Authors of Pain versus Heavy Machinery.
You think it'll be Heavy Machinery, or do you think it'll be, in my mind just went blank as day, Johnny Wrestling and
DIY?
Yeah, DIY.
Unless they put DIY into a number one contender match, I don't see them automatically being put into a match.
I mean, granted, they were the first ones out, and we've been all along. If you lose your match, you shouldn't be jumping right back in. I can see Heavy Machinery going in.
Yeah,
going in as your number one contender.
I can see that too. That's how I think that for the title matches, anyways. That's how it's going to be for NXT Chicago. And
if I was to give a grade to this show, I would give us if it was on the wrestling by itself, just the wrestling, it'd be a B. Mm-hmm. Because the wrestling wasn't bad, and
the wrestling's never bad.
But if you factor in everything else, how it was mostly just a promo show, I think you got to give it a C minus.
I was going to say a C.
Mm-hmm. It's just not. You can't survive on just your wrestling. There's got to be a little bit of a storyline there.
One of the things that one of our viewers mentioned to us was, how are we grading our shows? It was just we're just grading it on that show in general. We're not grading it on past shows or what happened. Yeah, just on past shows, because we grade on the spot.
Right, and that's just kind of how we do it. I was just very disappointed. Yeah. Like, I love NXT. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge NXT guy. I'm an NXT mark. And that show was just kind of disappointing because you had a chance to come out and really push some kind of storyline with your champions, and you did nothing.
Because you're coming off, like I said, TakeOver Orlando is like the WrestleMania that happened. It was the season finale. You're starting off for a new season.
And they're even better about it because they only did takeovers last year once every 3 months.
And now it's like, that was your season finale. You could have came out this next week and just thrown out anything and let it catch.
Yeah, you could have done, instead of doing that Bobby Roode promo after the show, I think you could have done that one on NXT and it would have been so much better. Mm-hmm. That's what I would have done. So... You want to move on to 205?
Yeah, we'll move to 205. Now that we kind of just beat the crap out of NXT.
Yeah.
Do better.
You should definitely. You've got to do something better. So 205, entertaining show this week. Started out with, wasn't it Oni Larkin?
No, it started out with Akira Tozawa versus Brian Kendrick.
Tozawa. I love Tozawa. I wish he would have been in the main event. Well, I know he's not done with Brian Kendrick.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said on last week's show. Is like, after Tozawa gets done with the Brian Kendrick, then he'll be able to then move on to the Cruiserweight Championship picture.
He should. He should be in it now. Just forget the Brian Kendrick story. I like it. I enjoy it. It's a pretty good match. I love how he faked the knee injury.
Yeah. Well, it was the lesson that Brian taught him.
Oh,
before the match.
Yeah, that's right.
And after the match was over, Tozawa gets on the mic and he says to Kendrick, I have teach you lesson number 1.
Yes, he's a Japanese star, so he speaks broken English. It's decent broken English, but it's still funny nonetheless.
I put down good match to watch.
It was a good match to watch.
And I think after about 3-4 more matches, this rivalry will be done.
Yeah,
and then you start seeing.
Well, you need to do it at a pay. You need to end it at a pay-per-view, I think. So maybe end it at Payback. You've got 4 weeks to build the Payback. You could totally end it. Well,
this
has
been building since before WrestleMania.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is you can.
Yeah, you can keep building on it and then have the climax at Payback.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Then it was the
Rich Swann versus Oni Larkin,
whatever. I wasn't very into this match.
Actually, I was into this match because
I don't like Oni. I don't care for Rich Swann's character.
Well, I don't like the two characters, or I don't like Swann with his little dancingness. I don't watch wrestling for dancing.
Right.
But Oni Larkin coming out, we mentioned him in NXT, and I said Larkin flows really nicely in the ring.
He does, but I was kind of bored in and out during this one. I didn't care for the match. I'm not a fan. Like I said, wasn't a fan of Larkin against Elias Sampson. That was kind of just okay, yeah, they were there, main event, good job. And this one kind of felt the same way. But
with the Rich Swann finishing off the match with a very beautiful Phoenix Splash.
That was pretty.
But I said that the wrong person won the match. I think Larkin has a bigger future in 205 than he does in NXT.
Yes, and I agree with you on the wrong person won the match.
And then afterwards, Rich Swann gets on the mic for a promo, and he starts talking about the gifts that Dar has been quote unquote sending to Alicia Fox, and he drops the bomb that it's actually him who's been sending Alicia Fox the gifts.
Wow, that's interesting. Putting her in the middle of another storyline. I'll just let it go.
And then Drew, what's his face? I forgot his last name now.
Gallagher?
No, Gulak.
Yeah, Gulak.
He comes up to Mustafa Ali in the back because they're about to do their number one contenders match for the Cruiserweight Championship in a Fatal 4-Way. And, Drew is trying to change 205 Live into a more conservative type of wrestling instead of what they do, which Cruiserweights are known for.
High flying,
high impact. And he's trying to change that. And I just pretty much said, in my notes, I said, shut up, Drew. No one cares.
Yep, I'm not a fan of... Well, I like Gulak in the ring, but his character... I feel like he's a Petey Williams knockoff. If you don't know who Petey Williams is, he was a wrestler in TNA that was an X Division guy, which I think theirs is 235. He was really good, high flyer, and kind of bigger than everybody else, so he could just dominate, and he kind of made it known that he was going to dominate everybody. And to me, Gulak just seems like a Petey Williams knockoff.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with him. And before we get into the number one's contenders match, here was some big news that I saw what was coming. I knew it was coming when they first announced the tournament. The UK division is now getting their own TV show weekly.
Yippee.
So now, not only do we have to watch, NXT 205 Live, and now we're going to have to watch UK wrestling.
Oh, please don't sign, is it Spud or Spike or whatever his name? Yeah, Spud.
No, he's the ring announcer on Impact.
Yeah, but he's a wrestler too. Please don't sign him. I don't want to listen to him.
But I can see Gentleman Jack going over to the UK and wrestling over there too. Getting up
yeah, probably. He'd be better suited as a first champion since he's been up for a little bit.
Well, there's already a first champion.
Well, I mean, like...
You have Tyler Bates.
One of the first challengers is what I meant.
Yeah, I can see that. Tyler Bates, Mustache Mountain.
Yeah, again.
I actually like the wrestling that I saw when they showed NXT a couple of weeks ago.
Can we get a Japanese division?
We got one. It's called New Japan Wrestling.
I know, but can we get one for WWE and let's put on mainstream some strong style?
I would love to see some strong style, but then you're having all these Japanese people coming to WWE, then you're getting all these strong style matches already.
I can't wait to see AJ versus Shinsuke. Anyway, that's ahead of ourselves. Then we get a Neville promo, which I actually enjoyed the Neville promo.
I love heel Neville.
Heel Neville is really, I love to hate him. He's the guy you love to hate.
He brought up a good point in his promo, though. He said, you might not like my tactics, but you cannot argue my results.
Yes, yeah, you can't. And he's so heelish. It's great. Love when he came out and he goes to get up on the ring and he's like, nope, I'm just going to stand here with my title. And the crowd kind of didn't like that. I love heel Neville. I don't want to cheer him, but I want to boo him.
He's pretty much anti-Neville from when he was actually a face. He came out with his cape, threw his cape off, went up to ran to the ring, slid into the ring, ran up to the turnbuckle,
pandered to the crowd,
and then he's like,
yeah, pandered to the crowd, and now he does the exact opposite. And
everything
makes the crowd
opposite,
hate him.
and it's lovely.
I love it. I thought we were going to get a turn because he goes, I want to thank you guys. And I'm thinking, oh no, he's going to. I was like, no, turn. No, don't turn back. Don't turn back. I want to thank you for not believing it. I was like, thank you, Neville. Thank you, Neville. So then we go into the championship match.
Yeah, the Fatal 4-Way.
Number one contender for the title match.
Fatal 4-Way match against Gentleman Jack, TJ Perkins, Austin Aries, and Mustafa Ali. Now, we predicted last week that Mustafa Ali was going to be next in line.
Or TJ Perkins.
Or TJ Perkins was going to be next in line for the Cruiserweight Championship. How it turns out throughout this match, it didn't happen that way.
No, it didn't, but Mustafa Ali doesn't come out of this hurt.
No, he doesn't.
I was glad that they didn't pin him.
He just got kicked down the ring by Perkins.
No,
by Gentleman.
By Gentleman Jack. He got kicked in the head, and he got drop kicked off
the turnbuckle.
Yeah, and out to the ring. That was an interesting finish, I will say. He got kicked in the head. Then who was it? Gentleman Jack got taken out by Aries, didn't he?
Yep, with the discus forearm.
Yeah, five arm.
Discus
five. Or no, he just got hit with a five arm, a forearm, whatever you want to call it. Then T.J. Perkins hit his finishing maneuver on Gentleman Jack, which sent him into the ropes, and he came out and headbutted T.J. Perkins, and that just kind of knocked him out.
His headbutts are vicious, though.
And about that time, A-Double, Austin Aries, my favorite, came in and hit a discus 5-arm on Perkins.
Was it Perkins?
Yeah, it was Perkins. Perkins took the fall. Doesn't hurt Mustafa. He had a really good showing in the match. Dominated most of the match, I would say. And just by circumstance, A-Double took the pin away from everybody. And I love the handshake at the beginning from A-Double. His handshakes are hilarious.
His handshakes are the funniest thing you'll ever watch.
It's like shaking hands with a woman almost. Is what it looked like.
He just grabs the top finger and just shakes it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then a good spot that Gentleman Jack has when he got Winston III and he flew
His
off.
umbrella is named Winston III. I just want to point this out. Like, don't think he grabbed another guy and jumped off. No, his umbrella is named Winston III. The crowd started chanting Mary Poppins because that's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah, he just jumps off the turnbuckle and lands on all three of them.
Yes. So if I had to give this show a rate, or do you want to go further into the match? You want to talk about what's going on?
I was going to go into Talking Smack next. I mean, I don't know if you watched Talking Smack.
I didn't, but we need to give this show a rating before we go into that.
True.
Probably a B+. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a great show, but it was solid.
I'll give it a B+ and A.
Yeah, I don't know. A is a bit strong.
I always like the wrestling. I always enjoy the wrestling off of 205. Their matches are never boring.
Yeah, they weren't. Even the match that I was kind of like about, which is Oni Larkin, was still a decent match.
Which one talking is just shut up and go away.
Yes,
and the same thing with Drew Gulak is like, I don't care what you have to say.
Right.
Go away.
Yeah, but the wrestling is solid. So, no, I did not watch Talking Smack, so I'm going to let you take this one.
There was only a couple things that you could take from Talking Smack.
Talking Smack, just in case you don't follow wrestling, Talking Smack is what happens after 205 Live on the network. And they just kind of talk about the night. They talk about
SmackDown.
They talk about SmackDown, and not only talk about SmackDown, they've used it to build some interesting storylines.
Yes. Like, we'll get to this when we get to Raw. Is that it's hosted by Renee Young and Shane McMahon this episode. Mostly it's Renee Young and Daniel Bryan who was hosting the show. But it was Shane McMahon this time because Daniel is at home with Brie because Brie's pretty much about to pop.
Yeah, she's pregnant and she's about to have a kid.
And so
good for them, by the way. Hope he doesn't come out looking like a goat.
Renee poses this question to Shane saying, so what is this superstar shakeup? Which we'll get back to that on Raw. And I had the same questions. I was like, is it a trade? Is it a draft? We don't know. Shane really didn't specify on that either. We'll get more than that when we hit Raw up.
Well, we might cover that after all because that's something I really want to get into, dig deep on.
And then after that, it was pretty much you had Ty Dillinger come out, talk about how his experience was on SmackDown that night, and then Naomi came out, and Naomi's promos are always the same. It's like, I dream, blah blah blah. It's like, oh.
Yeah. So you want to get into SmackDown?
And then the Usos came out. It was a surprise guest on Talking Smack was the Usos. And I love it when the Usos come out because they're not in their character like they are on SmackDown. They come out and they start, talking to Shane and all this. And it's always loud. It's always fun. And it turns out that if Alpha and Usos are still on SmackDown after the Superstar Shakeup, then it's going to be Usos versus the American Alpha on SmackDown for the SmackDown titles.
That ought to be interesting. I like that feud. I really enjoy it. They're both really good in the ring. They both have heat. The Usos have heat, and I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be a good match.
Yeah,
especially with Alpha being in there. Anyways, Alpha, fantastic tag team.
Yeah,
especially with Jason Jordan's hot tag.
Yes, Jason Jordan's dropkick too.
Just he starts going in, suplexes everything inside. If a fan was in there, he'll suplex the fan. And
yeah, I think that would be fun to. I would love to have him suplex me one time. That's all I think I could take. I don't even know if I could take that.
You're like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. So now into SmackDown, we got to lead off with Bray. And
I have Orton opens up the show.
Yeah. Well, and then Bray comes out and challenges him to a House of Horrors match.
Whatever that's going to be.
I'm scared it's going to end up like the Punjabi prison match between Undertaker. I mean, granted, you have better wrestlers than Khali. I mean, even Bray is 100 times better than Khali. But what is it? Like, there's no specification. I kind of think of it that's going to end up being something like a Monsters Ball. I don't know if you've seen those on Impact, but it's every type of match combined into one pretty much. Yeah. So I think it's going to end up being something like a Monsters Ball.
WWE is still trying to push Bray as the new face of Fair on there. It's not working because everything they're trying to do, everything creatively that they're trying to do is just stupid. It's just dumb. I don't like it.
I don't mind it. I kind of enjoy it.
And then Bray appears behind Orton, and they start brawling. Bray tries to jump Orton. Orton fights back, and then Orton gets the upper hand. And then Eric Rowan comes out with. I like his new mask though.
I do like his new mask. and then to save Orton, which I don't understand this. If part of his character was I warned Bray and Bray didn't listen, why are you going to come out and help Orton? Was Luke Harper. Luke Harper coming out to help Orton. I get it in a sense, but in a sense I don't, because you were so anti-Orton, and now you're coming out to save him from getting beat down.
Well, I think if you've been paying attention, is if the thing that I think they're doing is that, yes, Luke was trying to warn Bray about Orton, but again, Orton is the one who destroys Sister Abigail, which kind of relinquishes the powers from Bray. And now Harper's coming out and fighting back against Bray.
Still don't understand that. I didn't care for. But then you get to Alexa and Naomi, and Alexa. What are you doing with Alexa? If you're gonna have her come out the next night and lose, I think a lot of this was because of the shakeup. Just like they're gonna be like, oh, we don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be here next week, so I'm gonna challenge for the title, and that's fine if you're gonna do it like that.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine, but if you're going to do that, at least put on a decent match.
Oh, I actually thought it was a decent match. I have nice psychology in the match. She kept working on the knee, and it wasn't like Seth Rollins where we thought the knee was hurt, and it really wasn't. We knew the knee wasn't hurt, but she kept working on it and working on it and working on it, and Naomi played to it. So, the biggest thing I took out of this was announce team, call the match.
Oh, I put that there. I was like, David Otunga, just shut up.
They were going back and forth about something stupid. Just focus on the match. You don't even
know what was going on in the match, and then you have Phillips just all of a sudden like, oh, did you see that move?
Yeah, focus on the Otunga and JBL. Focus on the match. Quit trying to be funny.
And then I also put a little pet peeve of mine, which I brought this up last week too, was that you always let the champion come out last.
That doesn't bother me too much.
That's a huge pet peeve for me. Because that shows respect to the champion. You don't send the champion out because you're not showing that respect then to that champion. I mean, I understand that you want to get the easy pop from the crowd, but it's still, you always let the champ come out second. That's the respect that they earned.
Again, that doesn't bother me. Like, there are so many other things I'm frustrated with right now with the WWE that is least on my radar.
I pick at everything, and if the champ does not come out second, I'm not happy.
Yeah, again, it does not bother me.
Now, if it's like, the only time when I see that a champ does not come out second is when Roman put up the title in the Royal Rumble as number 1. Then it's like, okay, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, and the last one out was Triple H, and you knew he was going to win.
Yeah, and then Triple H wins, and then that whole thing happens. And then Roman wins at that year's WrestleMania.
Anyways, circle back around to this. Again, I enjoyed it. It was a fun match. I know you didn't care for it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
And I put Alexa tapped out to Naomi, and now who was going to be the next competitor for Naomi's title? We'll have to see next week about who is coming over from Raw, from the women's division, onto SmackDown. And whoever that is, if it's a high caliber person, it's like as Charlotte, then I can see that feud happening.
I don't think they're going to call Charlotte up. And I have my reasons for that.
Charlotte over.
I don't think they're going to call... Yeah, over, I should say. I don't think they're going to call Charlotte over. She just started a feud with Nia Jax. I don't think they're going to call her over just yet. Unless they call over both. Because I can see them calling over Nia Jax. And let's hope that that's not your next
I just want Nia Jax to go away.
Okay, so then you get a commercial break, and you get Kurt Hawkins coming out and throwing down an open challenge.
Like, it was like Kurt comes out, and I put down there, it's like, shut up, Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt Hawkins, really, you're going to make the first match. He says, anybody in the back, anybody, I don't care who it is.
I'll give you to the count of 10. And then you see the whole crowd going, 10, 10, 10.
And then Dillinger's music
believe it or
hits.
not, Ty Dillinger makes his debut on SmackDown.
Yes, we said it last week. You needed to call up Ty Dillinger, and they did, and I'm happy because Ty Dillinger...
And he went to the right show because I said Ty Dillinger needs to go to SmackDown.
IC title, I could, by the summer, you could put him in the IC title match.
Yes.
If you build him right by the end of next year... Or even in the middle of next year. By this time next year, you could be talking about him as a
World
Championship. Yeah, you'd have to build him right. But
you were correct on the part as how over is Ty Dillinger. Here you have him on the main roster in front of, well, they moved stadiums, so they're only in front of 15,000 this time.
Yeah.
But 15,000 people all going 10, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, I love him. He's so over. You had to bring him up. And that was, to me, the second biggest pop of the night.
I would almost say that he was the biggest pop. But I still think the crowd was louder with Dillinger than it was with Shinsuke.
No, I don't think so. I think it was Shinsuke all the way.
But it was a good match, even with Hawkins, because you don't see much of him. But Ty Dillinger versus Kurt Hawkins was a really good match to watch.
Yeah, even for just I hate to say throwaway, but for a throwaway match that was just kind of there.
I wouldn't call it a throwaway because it's a debut match.
True.
I said that if Dillinger was nervous, he didn't show in the ring.
Yes, Dillinger, I think, just fed off the crowd. Yep. He did really good. I enjoy Ty Dillinger's matches, and I now understand why they had him lose and have him call up.
Yeah.
So, I still don't like the fact that he lost, but I can understand it a little better now.
Yep. And then you cut the commercial again after that match, and then you have The Miz come out, and he's doing his little John Cena thing with Maurice being Nikki Bella and all this, and it was actually really funny to watch because it's funny where Miz starts talking like Robot Cena, and he takes his hand and he just goes, Nikki, I love you.
Yeah, that one. And then, now, we must do the thing we never said we do, and walk away.
Yeah.
And the crowd started cheering, and about that time when they went to exit the ring, the lights go out, and this guy...
Spotlight with a violin.
Yes, a violinist comes out and starts playing, and you're going, is it? It can't be. Is it?
And then he starts playing this little piano, this little violin solo, and then all of a sudden you see the little green... sound lights go down. And it's like, wow, 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 wow. And it's like, oh my god, it's Nakamura.
I knew it was going to happen. I didn't watch it live. I watched it on DVR. So I had already gone out and read it was going to happen. But even knowing it was going to happen, I still almost jumped out of my chair. I was so excited to see Shinsuke on SmackDown where he needs to be.
I said that last week too. It's like, you need to have Shinsuke go to SmackDown because I'm tired of seeing the same 6 people main eventing or being on the card when you have other talents, but now you're pushing those other talents behind, but you're having Dillinger and Nakamura come up.
Right. I have amazing entrance. I loved it. He'd come out and he did his theatrics play not just in Japan, but to an American crowd.
Nakamura has so much charisma just in his entrance that the whole WWE roster does.
Definitely. So, he comes out, he does his thing, and he is just over as all get out, too.
And now, you know Miz is not going to allow Shinsuke to come out to upstage him and to interrupt him. So now you know that the Shinsuke Nakamura and the Miz are going to have a feud, probably all the way up until Backlash.
Well, Backlash isn't a dual show, it's just Raw, isn't it?
No, you have Payback, which is the end of this month, and then you have Backlash.
Oh, Backlash, yeah, I'm sorry. Backlash, right. So, Backlash, I think they'll feud all the way. I think they may feud past it, may feud on to SummerSlam. I don't know. It kind of depends on what Cena does with this TV show he's filming, and so that's why he's stepping away.
It was also nice to have Shinsuke come out, and he doesn't even pull on a promo.
Right.
But he doesn't have to say anything, and he still has a huge impact on that show.
Right. So now we move on to Corbin versus Ambrose.
Corbin versus Ambrose in a street fight.
Yes. Something interesting happened in this match, and I do want to bring it up.
I said that it was a typical street match. You had chairs, you had trash cans, you had tables, and everything. It was a typical street fight match.
Yes, it was. But it's still good. Yeah, these two I want to see in that kind of match.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see how badly, which one is more stupid, and which one's going to get beaten worse before he finally gets beat down. Now, the interesting thing that happens in this match is Baron Corbin grabs a leather strap and starts beating Dean Ambrose. And you're probably thinking, well, that's not that unusual. And then later in the match, Ambrose beats Corbin with it. You probably think that's not that unusual. It is setting up for something they haven't done in a really long time, which is a strap match. You don't see strap matches very much anymore. So I think that's where they're headed.
I can see that too, now that you mentioned it. When we were talking earlier, I didn't even think about that. Because I was like, oh, okay, he's beating him with the leather strap. Okay, but now you brought up the strap match, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
For those of you who don't know what a strap match is, you attach a long leather strap to two competitors, and it can be used as a weapon. You attach it on their arms. It can be used as a weapon. It can be used to choke somebody out. It can be used for a number of different things.
It's like a bull rope match.
Yeah, except for it's a leather strap, and there's no cowbell in the middle of it.
And then
I have Corbin win on SmackDown.
I had Corbin wins also because he did win, so it's not like we're predicting that he's winning.
Right.
But he won on SmackDown, and I have a feeling that he's gonna bring this up to Shane and Bryan and say, "Hey, I just beat the Intercontinental Championship. I deserve another shot at the title."
I think we're going to see more Corbin. We've got to see at least one more Corbin-Ambrose match, at least. I think we're going to see several leading up to Backlash as that strap match continues. I think after that strap match, we're either going to see Corbin or Ambrose go for the title. Well, whichever one doesn't have the title coming out of Backlash will go for the title because, excuse me, it builds that IC title back up to where it was.
Yeah.
Used to, the IC champ always got after he lost the title, got a shot at the title. I think that's where they're building this back up to.
Well, I think if you want to have the title stay as prestigious as it is, have Dean win. Hey, hold on to the title and let him win through Backlash. Also, have him on SmackDown as the
Corbin
IC. No,
through Backlash,
Ambrose,
because Corbin's the champion.
No, Ambrose is the champion.
I thought it was a title match.
No.
Continue on.
It was not a title match. And so, have Ambrose winning through Backlash, and then that's where you then bring in Ty Dillinger because you're going to have a good month or so to build him up. He'll be the next competitor in line for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, he should be. It wasn't a title match. I could have sworn it was a title match. Once again, it's poor WWE's part for not making it clear. And why have a champion lose then? Why have a champion lose on SmackDown?
Because then, now you have a reason to have Corbin compete for the IC title again.
I guess. I don't like it. I have a number one contenders match and have him win.
And then...
I also have one other statement there. Why wasn't that the main event?
Because the main event...
I know what their reasoning is, but if you want to make this prestigious, make it the main event, because the main event was kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that Corbin and Ambrose is the main event and you have that match as the main event, I leave with a better taste in my mouth than I do with the main event.
With main event of Bray versus Orton and or Bray and Luke. With Orton with Luke.
Yeah, versus Harper and Rowan.
Rowan and Bray.
Yeah, Rowan and Bray. Whatever.
It was such a bad main event, we can't even get the names right.
Yes, it was a bad main event. I don't understand. If you tell me that that's the main event, I'm left with a better, because right after this, you got a promo. After this match, you get a promo from Shane and AJ.
Well, Shane comes out and he's attempting to explain the Superstar Shakeup again. AJ comes out, typical AJ. You're thinking, oh, it's AJ, he's going to do a heel thing and just start bad-mouthing Shane. Well, AJ comes out and interrupts Shane, and he comes down, and he does something that you don't see much from AJ Styles.
Well, hold on. He does something. He says something before that makes you think he's going to attack him. Because he goes, I still owe you, and he's got this big black eye, and he goes, I still owe you something for this. And you think, here we go. And instead of jumping him, like Corey says, you see something that AJ doesn't do, and he sticks his hand out and shakes Shane's hand. Sign of respect.
Sign of respect, because Shane did wrestle a match with AJ and took AJ almost to his limit. I mean, we understand that AJ is the greatest in the world, but he did take AJ to his limits.
He did, and I like that AJ, and I also love that when he went to walk out, he turned around like he was going to hit him real quick. He stops and he throws up his little AJ pose that he does, and then walked out of the ring. I think this is setting up AJ to Raw again. Mm-hmm. I would love to see AJ on Raw. I think we could put the club back together.
Well, in his promo, AJ said that he doesn't want to leave SmackDown.
I know he said he doesn't, but I think I want to see the club. So I want to see them either put the club on SmackDown or AJ on Raw. And with this shakeup being announced this week, it gets in some really interesting things because Shinsuke's called up. Mm-hmm. I want to see Shinsuke and AJ Styles go at it. They have had only like 1 or 2 matches, and it could be so good. And it's that strong style that we want to see, because AJ's going to put on a strong style match with them.
Because the Superstar Shakeup is going to be a 2-night event. It's going to happen on Raw. It's going to happen on SmackDown. What if they wait until SmackDown for them to announce that AJ is going to Raw, and then you still get that AJ versus Shinsuke Nakamura match?
But they put that match on a SmackDown, though. That's the issue. Is like, I want to see them go at it for a title, a world title. Like, I want. That's what I want to see, because they are so good together in the ring. I think they would play well with each other.
Yeah, I can see that too. Now, so, moving on to the main event.
Yeah, I put down. I liked when Luke Harper and Eric Rowan got in the ring together. I thought the bruising, brawling style that they had was really good. But there were several spots where I was like, this is just predictable.
Yeah, and I put down Rowan is still sloppy in the ring.
I don't know, but with Luke, you really didn't show as much, because, yes, he's sloppy in the ring, but you were brawling, and there's going to be some sloppiness in a brawl. True.
And, yeah, with it being a brawl, you're not going to really be all technical about it.
Yeah, these two were brawling. They're not going to be a technical, Bret Hart style wrestler.
And I also put down that Luke Harper is such a great superstar that I wish he would get the push that he deserves and get into a title picture and let him hold a title, because he's so good.
He is good.
He's a big guy. He's like, what, 6'5", 6'8", something like that. He's big. And he's drop kicking people like he's a freaking cruiserweight.
And the super kick was nice too. He super kicks Rowan. Well, we're about to see Bray Wyatt get RKO'd, and the lights go out, and all of a sudden he's sitting on the ramp laughing.
I don't like that. It's like, what? Well, it's like, what is the point of that? Can Bray now teleport? Is he a magic teleporter now? Is he a freaking wizard? Alakazam! I'm on the entrance ramp now. I'm going to laugh at you. And then his plan backfires. Randy RKO's Rowan in
after Harper super kicks him.
Yeah.
So into the match, I was like, wasn't that good of a match? That's why I said, if you're telling me that this match is going on before the Shane promo, I'm cool with it. I know why they did it, because, like you said, Orton was the last man out. So there's your champion coming out last, even though it's not a championship match. And your champion won. But you mean to tell me that you couldn't have that before the Shane and AJ interaction?
You could have, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah, and I would have been left with a much better feel about this show than giving it the C- rating I'm giving it. Like, the wrestling was okay, if you take out not including the Ty Dillinger match, because it was good. The wrestling was okay, but it wasn't great. So the storylines were progressed a little bit. We got an announcement that it's the House of Horrors match, and I don't know what that is. It could be a great match. It could be horrible.
Now let me ask you something. How impressive is Randy Orton's power slam?
Oh, the one where he
just whips him around.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so fast.
It is fluent, and it works every time he does it really well. But at the same time, that's not good enough to save that match.
It's not.
That's not good enough to save that match. I was disappointed in SmackDown.
But with the additions of Nakamura and Todd Dillinger, the single men's division has picked up greatly.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like Shinsuke's addition to this. Shinsuke is just a monster in the ring. He will play with your head while kicking you in the face.
And so, I end my notes on SmackDown with just, shut up, David Otunga. Just shut up. We don't like you on commentary. We want you to just go home.
Go practice law. You have a law degree. You don't like what we're saying, sue us. I don't care.
You can't sue us. First Amendment. What? Okay,
so now on to the main show. The best show this week, I say.
Yep, I agree.
Raw was amazing. We got a good, 5-minute Undertaker.
Undertaker. Thank you, Undertaker. Thank you, Taker.
Undertaker chants. And then we get Roman Reigns coming out. And boy, we can't repeat what the crowd says.
No. We're trying to keep our show a little PG. And we can't
family friendly, yeah. You can't repeat.
We can't repeat what they said in the crowd.
Not all of it. Go away, Roman, we can repeat. Yeah. Roman sucks, we can repeat. Some of the other stuff, like I said, we will not repeat what they say. And I love the non-promo.
Romo just sits in there and he absorbs all this heat.
Yes.
And I want to bring up this point. Roman as a baby face, until this promo happened, Roman as a baby face, he is receiving more heat than your top heel on Raw or SmackDown.
Yes, and he needs to be a heel. He needs to be a heel. He needs to be a heel. That's all I can say.
All he does, he absorbs about 10 minutes of punishment from the crowd. He goes up to try to talk. The crowd boos so loudly that he can't talk. He's just taking it. He's soaking it in.
And he says, "This is my yard now." Drops the mic, walks
just
out.
Just 5 words and walks out.
I liked it. I have here. I love the non-promo from him. Then we go to the next match, which is Hardy's versus the Club.
Traditional wrestling match, tag team match. Nothing really to say about the match except for I liked when Jeff did poetry in motion off the stairs.
Yes. Oh, that was awesome. I love the delete, obsolete. When they wanted Jeff to tag in, it was obsolete chants. I have fast-paced match, which is not something we usually see out of the club. So I like that we're seeing some different styles from them. Twist of Fate, Swanton, Hardy's win.
Yep, Hardy's won. Not much to say about the match except it was fast-paced. It was a good match to watch, but there wasn't that many points to make.
Again, Impact Wrestling let go of the broken gimmick.
But it also the club called out their championship reclaws and before the shake-up, so now we have to find new competitors for the Raw titles, which we do later on in the show.
Right. Neville promo again was perfect.
Yep.
In between this one and the next match says, "I'll have my proper celebration on 205 Live like I should."
And so, 205 is his domain.
Well, yeah, I agree.
It's his kingdom.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying, I love how he says that.
Yep.
And then we go to Mustafa Ali versus Neville,
which I thought was a great match. I was excited when I saw that because I thought my prediction was coming true. It was like, yes, Mustafa Ali is next in line for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yes, first time. It was my first time to see Mustafa Ali. Like I said, I didn't watch 205 before this week. Agile, and man, can he fly.
He can. And I put down Neville wins, but barely.
Chain wrestle. I have some other stuff in here, too. That clothesline that Neville delivered, I put JBL would be proud of clothesline. I love the heel Neville and the heel move at the end where he acts like he's going to hit Red Arrow, jumps down, puts him in his Rings of Saturn, and that was it.
He's like, sucker.
The rolling neck breaker too by Mustafa Ali was really cool. I really love this match, and that inverted 450.
Such a pretty move.
It is. Then Vince came out and announces that a superstar shakeup. What that entails, we don't know. I'm hoping for a draft.
I put in my notes, I said, is it a draft or is it just trading?
Right. I'm hoping draft. But
I don't want a draft to happen because I'm happy with what SmackDown has done with their superstars. Even the little people on that show have, I say little people, but the people who weren't pushed as hard, on when the shows were together were getting pushed on SmackDown, and now you have all these great superstars on SmackDown, and I don't want any of them to leave to go over to Raw.
The draft isn't as random as we think, though. There will be guys who will be, you know how it is. They're predetermined. So people like AJ will probably end up over there, I think.
Well, if you're looking at it as not in our perspective, because we know things, but as a fan perspective, you don't want to see this happen.
That's true. Loved Vince talking about Steph. That was so... You people are cheering my baby girl go with it.
You are heartless.
Yeah. That was great.
And then he announces the new GM, and poor Teddy...
I love how he does it. He said he was inducted to the Hall of Fame this year, and out comes Teddy Long. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be...
And then he's like, it's not me? No. Oh, my bad, brother.
And he goes back and he announces Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle as Raw GM.
And then immediately then that we got the promo... with I
have New Day. New Day comes out next.
Okay. Oh yeah, because it was a little bit later that we get the promo with Enzo and Cass and him. I loved it.
Yeah. You have New Day come out and they're saying, "Yeah, we had fun hosting WrestleMania, doing all these special appearances on ESPN and all these other places, but we wanted to go back to what we do." And that is to wrestle. So they also put out an open challenge to any tag team in the locker room. And who would debut? The Revival.
We said it last week. Call them up. And they did. We wanted them to come up. I have a nice opening match for the Revival. I love it. And they set up future matches. Personal opinion, they set up future matches with the Revival and New Day. I think they're going to start a feud that's going to build toward their next pay-per-view.
What I put down is like, how well did WWE just give a really hard, solid push to put the Revival over on the main roster than beating the longest reigning tag team champions in history?
Yes. That
was probably the best move they could have made to put over a new, threatening, very credible tag team.
And then took out Kofi on the first night. Take out Kofi. Like, that's a move that we've seen them do several times in NXT, and I love seeing that.
And I put down with just the additions of two teams. The same thing with SmackDown, just the addition of two people, but addition of two teams on Raw. Raw now has a great tag team division. Yeah. With the additions of the Hardys and the Revival, you would now have a division.
Yep. And you know, that, like I said, the Revival won and then attacked Kofi. Putting him out of action, so to speak. It'll allow him to ride their little New Day ice cream bike.
Yeah. And then,
then we get the Enzo and Cass and
Kurt. I like how when their Revival first came down, though. They came down and you had the New Day bike down there, and, Dawson.
One of them flipped it over.
Just pushes it over.
That was pretty cool. After this match, we got an interaction with Kurt and Enzo and Cass that was absolutely hilarious. Kurt just taking himself, taking his character so seriously. How you doing? Well, actually, I'm doing pretty good.
And so Enzo goes into the whole, my name is Enzo Amore, blah, blah, blah. You can't teach that.
No, not in any university I've ever seen. This right here, this big Cass, he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that.
No, you can't.
No, you sure can't.
And so they go on, and they're saying that that Kurt announces that they're going to have a number one contenders match with Sheamus and Cesaro, and then Enzo, and then Cass goes,
we're going to show you that they're SAWFT soft.
No, they're only one word to describe them. I'm going to spell it out for you. And he does so soft, he goes, SAWFT, and then Enzo goes, soft?
And Kurt goes, that's not how you spell soft. It was just great. It was so good to see Kurt being that character.
Being
Kurt, exactly. Leads into the 6-woman tag match.
I did not care about this match at all.
I did. The end of the match, you saw, I believe, Nia Jax.
You see the return of Emma.
Yeah.
You see the return of him.
But didn't at the end of the match, Nia Jax and Charlotte kind of get into it?
Well, Nia Jax, yeah, they pushed around a little bit, but
so I think they're setting up for that. Building for Sasha and Bayley, maybe. That's the only place I can see them going next is Sasha versus Bayley.
Well, with the shakeup, you don't know what's going to happen with the shakeup.
I still think it's Sasha versus Bayley next, unless they're going to push for Sasha versus Alexa Bliss, which I really hope for.
And then you have Brock comes out, Heyman does his promo, he calls out Roman. Well, with him calling out Roman...
What about the Sami? Didn't we get a Sami Zayn in there?
That's afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you have Roman not come out, but then you have Braun Strowman come out.
Yes. That's going to be interesting. I don't know if they're going to push Braun Strowman against Brock. I could see it, and it would be a bruising...
He physically assaulted Brock by shoving him.
But still, I mean, that's going to be a big physical brawl. That's not going to be a match. That's going to be a brawl.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of people getting ran into turnbuckles.
Yes. Next, we got the Jericho thing, right?
Yeah, with Jericho doing an interview, and then...
I saw that attack coming.
Yeah, he gets attacked by Kevin and Joe.
I love when he goes to put him on the list.
And then...
Kevin Owens' pinky, he's going to put him...
Now, Seth Rollins doesn't have a tag team partner for the main event. And we'll get to who debuts once we get to that main event.
Reintroduced is what I would say.
Yeah, reintroduced. But then you get the Sheamus and Cesaro versus Angel and Cass #1 contenders match. Fun match to watch. Poor Sheamus, though, has been through so much punishment. He has bruised arms, stitches in the eye, black eye. Yeah. And it's like, man, he still comes out and wrestles.
He does. I love Sheamus. I like the way he plays with Cesaro. It plays really well together.
And
for some reason I don't have who won this match.
You have the new #1 contender. I do. You have the new #1 contenders to being Sheamus and Cesaro. So they're the next ones who are up in line against the Hardys, either on next week's Raw or at Payback for the Raw Tag Team Championships.
I think it's going to be on Raw. You don't know what's going to happen with the shake-up. Go ahead and give them the championship match on Raw. Then you can throw the Revival versus somebody for a tag team title match.
Yep. Now, after this, now you have Sami versus Jinder Mahal. I put even the filler matches on that night's show of Raw had purpose, had a story to tell.
Sami and Jinder in the back were arguing about who,
that Jinder should have won the Andre Memorial Royal
for Gronkowski. If it wasn't for him, he would have.
And Sami was, sucking up to Kurt.
Yeah.
And then Jinder comes and interrupts, and they get into it, and Kurt goes, "We're going to do this how we always done it. We're going to settle it in the ring."
Yes, and I have push coming for Sami. Just after tonight, I think after that night, I think we're going to see a push for Sami Zayn. I don't know if it's Raw or SmackDown, but I think we're going to get a push for Sami. So
I put Jinder dominated 3/4 of the match, and then Sami out of nowhere hits him with a huluva kick and wins the match.
Pretty much, but that's just Sami's character. The underdog get beat down and just gets back up. So where you're frustrated.
Now SmackDown, if you want to do a main event tag team tag team match, this is how you do it. You have who came out first? It was Kevin and Joe who came out first. And then Seth came out, and Kevin's doing his little taunting thing too.
Yeah, who's going to be your partner?
Oh, who's going to be your partner? And then lights go out, and then boom, boom.
Yep. Balor's music hits, and I put down Finn Balor entrance got my attention.
Yes.
I was jotting a note down, and the lights go down, and Finn Balor's music hits, and I popped my head up to the TV because I love Finn Balor.
I put down after the match was over. Are we still going to see a Finn and Rollins feud? Because, Rollins is the one who injured Finn. And
if we do that now, you've got to turn Finn, and you can't turn Finn when he comes back. There was some tension in that match. Look at the way that, after it was over, look at the way Balor just glared, stared down menacingly Rollins. There's still some tension there. There's still going to be a feud. I just think it's going to be a little later.
Well, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you need a turn Finn. It's just it's payback.
You've got to turn. You can't have two faces go against each other. You've got to turn.
Well,
Finn or Seth.
You still got to think it's payback. I had a double underline in my notes as payback for his injured shoulders.
Yeah, and the next pay-per-view is payback. I still think that they're going to turn Finn.
I think so too. Just how he was coming out, how he acted coming down in the ring.
Yep, and the rumors swirling about the new club, the Balor Club, so to speak.
And then
that's also a reason why I think AJ's going to Raw.
I also put down what else is going to happen: Finn versus Owens for the U.S. title.
Huh, interesting.
I put that down as a side note because it'll be interesting to do, but I still think that after Lesnar loses the Universal title, you need to put Finn back in that picture because he never lost his title.
Agreed, and I think he should win it back at SummerSlam.
Yes.
So push to SummerSlam. We're now in that build from WrestleMania to SummerSlam, where things are starting to get ramped up for that. SummerSlam, their third biggest pay-per-view of the year in their mind. There's some debate on what their fourth one is. Should be. Anyways. Excuse me.
I put down that it was a great show, even with the filler matches, quote-unquote filler matches. And because those even had meaning behind them. And,
right.
But the big thing I want to bring up is, like, how tough are the Hardys?
Oh, yeah. 3 matches in 3 days.
72 hours of straight up ladder matches and then going and defending your title on Raw. 72-hour span. I mean, how tough do you have to be? You saw it in the...
And not to mention, I bet they had other matches afterwards, too, for their indie stuff.
And you gotta think, it's like, you could tell in the Club versus Hardy's match, how sore they were.
Yes.
But they still went out and they still put on a good show. They are true professionals.
Yes. They're old school professionals.
And, this week... Raw was the #1 show, and it only took the appearances of Finn Balor, the Hardys, Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon, and a Superstar Shakeup to make it the #1 show again. And Kurt Angle to make it to the #1 show again.
Yep. Here lately, SmackDown's been killing it, and this week SmackDown not as good. Raw, solid A for me.
Yep, I give it an A too.
Just the good matches, the furthering the storyline, the reintroduction of Finn, the introducing as Kurt Angle as your GM of Raw, just everything together was just really good.
I agree with that. Now going back to the Superstar Shakeup.
Yes, I want to hit this for a few minutes here at the end.
There are rumors speculating right now that these people are going to be moving AJ to Raw, Charlotte to SmackDown.
These are just rumors. We haven't.
We don't have any confirmations, but these are rumors that we have read.
Yeah,
that's been. If you just Google things, then you'll find these rumors too. But you have New Day to SmackDown,
Sami Zayn to SmackDown. That's what I've heard.
I've heard that too. There was another big Alexa to Raw.
Yeah. Out of all those that you said, the two that I want to see the most, AJ Styles to Raw, and Sami Zayn to SmackDown. And I'll tell you what. Usually the most intriguing feud is your main event World Championship feud. If you take AJ and put him on Raw, you can have AJ and Balor feuding for the title all about a Balor Club, maybe. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, there's this group called the Bullet Club. Brief history, real quick. Finn Balor used to be the leader of the Bullet Club. When he left New Japan, AJ Styles took that over, and he left. Part of the 2 members of the Bullet Club were Gallows and Anderson. They are now in WWE on Raw. If you took AJ and put those 3 together again, I think you could bring the Bullet Club, or the Club as they're calling themselves due to copyright issues. You could have something very intriguing where Balor starts trying to turn heel and interjecting himself into the club, and have a feud between those two for that thing. For that right of the club ownership, and putting Sammy on SmackDown, you could instantly throw him into a championship contender.
Well, even with that, you could either have him feuding against Shinsuke.
Oh,
I mean, you thought they had what, the match of the year on
for
NXT?
Yeah.
And you just put that on SmackDown, you keep it going, and
throw a title into it too.
Oh my!
Yes.
But Shane did mention on Talking Smack that he said that Vince said that nothing is off limits, which makes me pose the question: what are they going to do with the champions? Are they, because
You realize if one champion goes to Raw, the other one's going to SmackDown.
Well, what I'm thinking is that they're going to keep at least the champions together, but you can't take the belts over because they're with their respective brands. What I'm thinking that will happen, like let's say if the Usos went back over to Raw, and they're the SmackDown Live champions right now. Yeah. What I think that's going to happen...
Then Alpha wins the title.
Well, what I think is going to happen is that if Usos go over, that means whoever the Raw champions are coming to SmackDown, but they're going to just trade belts, which means that Usos are going to get the Raw championships, and whoever and whoever is the Raw champions are going to get the SmackDown champions. And I think that's going to happen with the women's titles too. Even though I
don't want Bayley to go to Raw or SmackDown.
No, I don't want that either.
But I just thought about something.
What?
What if the world title goes to Raw?
No, I don't think. I honestly, I don't think that's going to
Universal to SmackDown. That's why I'm going to you over here. I don't
want that. No. That is such a nasty title. It should not have been created. If they wanted
to... Calm down, boy. Down, boy. Look. But if you change it to Raw, if you change it to SmackDown, at least you're getting a blue title around it, and that would be better.
It would be better looking than the red.
Yeah,
and you can start that title over again.
Yeah, definitely. So, down, boy. Just oh wow. I just thought about that. I don't want to see the champions go. I know nothing's off limits. I just don't want to see the champions.
I don't want to see the champions go.
I think champions for each respective brand are good champions for that brand.
I think so too. I mean, the only titles I can see that are changing with the champions are the IC title and the US Championship.
Yeah, usually that's the only two that go.
Yeah.
IC to Raw. That'd be interesting. Then Ty Dillinger would go for the US. I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with... Let's see. So your IC title is Ambrose. It's not going to happen because unless you're going to take Ambrose and Corbin and put them on Raw, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, you can start anything on Raw then.
Well, yeah, but I don't think the champions are going anywhere.
But I don't think they're going to just cut stories.
Yeah, you can't really just cut stories. So
they've done it, but I don't think they're going to.
They've done it so many times.
So
that's a different issue for a different podcast. So
that's a podcast on its own.
Yes, it is. So that's all I have for the week. Again, Raw, best show, best rating. ROH, kind of meh. Everything else was in between there.
Now, with you people who are trying to listen for me to start talking about Impact, I watched a total of 10 minutes of this show, and I had to turn it off because it was making me so sad, so upset that I did not want to watch wrestling no more.
I don't watch Impact
This is
anymore.
how bad Impact is. Even under the new direction of Jeff Jarrett, they still have a long way to go before it's back up to what it was.
I don't get the channel it comes on. I watch clips. I watch clips of matches because the matches are decent.
The matches are actually really good. It's just the storylines, like with just Josh Matthews thing. It's like, shut up, Josh. No one likes you. People want you to go. And now they're starting this thing where it's like a Survivor Series thing, where it's going to be a 4-on-4 matchup with Josh's team and Borash's team, and they're going to compete against each other to see who knows what they're talking about. It's like, this is so dumb.
Yeah, I'm not a fan anymore. I used to be all about Impact when it was TNA and it was 6-sided ring and it was really good, and they went back to the 6-sided ring and I got really excited, and it's not picked up.
It's just it's over.
Yeah, I think they're about to be done.
So that's it for this episode.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got. Again, this podcast is on a weekly basis. We're talking about changing it for pay-per-views, where we have just a podcast for a pay-per-view and then podcast for the shows. So we'll see. We'll discuss that more when we go off the air. But that's all we had for this week. We're going to catch you guys next week. I am the Captain Corey Smelzer.
And I am Will Twinkie Welch.
And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.